I hear you.
The offensive line, obviously, we've talked about that quite a bit,
Yeah.
but maybe to some people it might have been an unorthodox approach that you guys took, but seems to be working. How do you feel about where that group is playing right now?
Yeah. Obviously, they've done a very decent job here the past few weeks, string a couple weeks together in terms of running the football and protecting the quarterback. Those guys have, I keep saying every week, but they've worked really hard in practice, and they have, and we'll keep going each week and play the guys who practice the best and execute the job and give us the confidence on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to go out there and play on Sunday. And the combination you guys have seen on Sunday has been a reflection of that.
Thayer Mumford's really come along in his maturation. In fact, at times probably Sunday looked like he should be your starter or getting that consideration. Will you talk about his maturation, please, and what you've seen from him?
Yeah, Thayer has come in here obviously from Ohio State and played, guard and tackle in both in college, and he's kind of found a little niche here at tackle for us in terms of trying to develop as a player. And I think I've brought up to you guys numerous times here with any young player, and especially linemen. They try and come in here and they try and just figure things out. Same thing with Dylan Parham, right? And they try and stack good days together. And I think both those guys have done a great job of taking the coaching from Coach Carm and Coach Cam and stringing good days together. And that's the best they can do because every day is a new day, right? Every opponent they've never faced before, every defensive end or guard or defensive tackle they've never faced before. So they're learning something every day. It's not the same thing as Colton Miller, who still needs a lot of coaching, to try and execute the game plan. But Colton Miller has faced, certain defensive ends before. He's played in certain schemes before. But this time for these guys, it's new everything. So, they have to come in here with open mindset and try and take it in, and they've done a great job of that. And so I think that you've seen that translate to the tape of just their hard work and dedication to try and get better.
The play action game worked really well for you all last game.
Yeah.
What do you think was behind that, and is that something that you can lean into more moving forward?
Obviously, play action it takes all 11 guys, right? So the running game obviously is a great effect of that. And, we have to make sure that we do our job up front. Back's got to do a great play fake. Quarterback's got to give a great play fake. Linemen have to block like if it's a run play. And if we all do that, then it makes it easy for the skilled players to get open, and they have to run the right route and to get open, obviously. But when you run the ball as effectively as we had the past few weeks, it obviously has done it's a benefit to do that.
Coach, over the past couple of weeks, we've kind of noticed Derek Carr moving around a little bit more in the pocket, kind of using his legs a little bit more. Do you think that's more on the offensive line, just becoming more comfortable with the way he plays, or him just being more comfortable in the system to do that?
Yeah, I think Derek is just taking the game plans and really effectively taking them on Sunday and played very effectively with that. And I think he's feel comfortable with the system. I think he feels comfortable in the pocket. The linemen have done a really good job of staying inside out, and he's true to his progressions and trusted the play. And I think that carries over. He works on his footwork, works on his techniques every single day in practice, and it translates into the game. And I think he's just done a good job of that, consistently saying to himself, okay, I can't stay back there, 9 yards deep in the pocket every snap. I got to move and got to push up in the pocket and make sure I get to a good launch point. And he's done a good job of that. It's just playing quarterback, and he focuses on that with Coach Bo and the rest of the quarterbacks every single day.
Fullback is often an overlooked position, but Jakob Johnson has done a really nice job in your system. Can you talk about how important he is to both the run scheme and the play action pass?
Yeah, Yak's done it, and really Yak brings something to the table in terms of, hard work and dependability as a player. He's a phenomenal person, works extremely hard, and he brings some continuity, I would say, to just the type of player that every coach wants to have in their room. And Coach Kennedy obviously has him in his room. But in terms of just playing fullback, he brings a element of toughness, but it's not just him, right? The offensive line, the tight ends, and the receivers all have to do their job in the running game. So whether you're lined up in 21 personnel or 11 personnel, I think I said it to you guys last time, the receivers, no block, no rock, right? So they got to block too. Matt Collins, Devontae, Hunter, whoever's out there needs to do their job. Foster at tight end, Darren at tight end, Jesper, anybody here. It really takes all 11 guys. So whatever the run scheme is, sure, Yak you see him more downhill and more, kind of coming downhill, hitting linebackers. That's his skill set, right? And then, but it doesn't matter what run you call. You got to execute it well, and you got to play tough. Yep.
I guess why is fullback still important in your offense when a lot of teams have phased it out at this point?
That's a good question. I think for us, in terms of the fullback, I think it brings us, again, an element of toughness, downhill runs, and we feel like we can control the line of scrimmage with the fullback on the field. And it depends on the game plan, right? Obviously, we go into each week saying what personnel groupings give us certain things we can try and attack from what we're trying to do offensively. And if we see that Yak being on the field gives us a certain look we want to try and exploit, then we'll do that. If it's not, then we won't. So just the capability of doing that, per week, and then we like doing that, so we'll continue to do it.
That's good. The first three plays, the first three passing plays all went to Devontae on Sunday. How much was that? Like, all right, maybe we had a bye week to say, all right, we figured out ways to get him the ball no matter what.
I think we start every game saying, what can we do to have positive plays to try and get the ball into the defense and create a scoring drive. And obviously we didn't do a good enough job with that at the start of the game. We've kind of floated out there in the first drive and then didn't execute well enough on the next two drives. But we'll go into each game saying, you know what are the plays that we feel really good about that can get us positive plays and move the football? And if those plays go to Devontae, they go to Devontae. If they go to Foster, they go to Foster. If they go to Hunter, they go to Hunter. It's just whatever plays we want to try and get down the field and try and get into the defense, whether they're hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs, hand the ball on a speed sweep to DJ Turner, whatever it may be, we're going to try and do that to get positive plays. Because if we try and get that first down, that's really what's going to try and get your drive going. So we'll continue to do that. Is that it?
All right.
All right, guys. All right, appreciate it.
What did you feel the secondary did and moving on from having Nate Hobbs out and trying to kind of cover for that spot?
Well, the guys came together and fought to compete to win a game last week, and I believe that like we said before, it's always next man up in this league, and they came out there, fought, and thankfully we got the win. And I know they're back at it now, just trying to improve, but they were competitive on some throws. They challenged us. They got a good receiver core with Houston, so I was pleased with what they did.
I think there might have been a few miscommunications. I mean, I don't know what the call was, but from your vantage point, was that an issue against the Texans at certain moments, like third down?
I think usually when you look back at any game, there's usually something that came up. Again, usually keep that in house or just try to figure it out because any competitive advantage for the other team. But usually, very seldom do you play a perfect game. So, and it's hard enough to cover those guys, and it's hard enough to have 11 guys on the same page, but that's what you're striving for. So usually you're going to see something in any game you watch.
Patrick, was the emergence of Neil Farrell and him getting more reps a precipice so that you could get rid of a Jonathan Hankins?
Anything with the trades and stuff like that you got to talk to Josh about that.
Through the first few weeks, Neil Farrell wasn't playing in his last couple of games. He's gotten out there, played a handful of snaps. What kind of progression has he made as a player?
The typical progression you see from rookies, just in terms of, learning how to study better, taking care of his body better, and then it shows up in practice. Because any snaps earned on the field, how we do it here is based on practice. And so, he's had an emergence on the practice field. So, when we talk about the idea of practice execution becoming game reality, that's what we're looking for. And he's worked really hard at practice, and it's been encouraging. And he knows he has a lot of room to grow, and that's the case for most of us out there. But, the thing is, you've seen it in practice to start.
Clee's getting more reps. Can you talk about Clee and about him in the inside and just what you're seeing out of him?
It's simple, just in terms of what he's doing in practice is we're hoping for it to transfer to the game day. And the advantage he has of going inside, he's a long body. He plays with length. He plays with his hands in front of his eyes. He has good strength, and he has toughness. So once you have that combination of things, whether he was a defensive end, outside backer, however you want to look at it, and you slide him down inside with the combination of the athleticism and quickness, it makes it a suitable situation for us to put him down in there. And he's capitalized on it so far.
Coach, on that 70-yard pick six by Duron Harmon, a lot of people will point that out. Obviously, he's been a huge leadership player for you on the back end, but more importantly than that, what I saw was Jonathan Abram widening the seam, allowing Duron Harmon to kind of bite on that underneath. Can you talk about how important Jonathan Abram has been in your system and what he means to you?
The versatility of Jonathan is important. You see him playing different spots out there. The leadership in terms of, the communication, that's a big part of it as well. So, it all ties together. Anytime someone makes a play out there on that field, very seldom is it because of one person. So, I'm sure Dew will thank all his teammates, whether it was the rush they got there, the other safety that was holding the skies or what have you, but it all ties together with everybody. And, I think Dew's the ultimate teammate, and I'm sure he thanked everybody about that interception.
You guys do have a lot of free safety looks with Trayvon. where are you with Trayvon right now in terms of his development?
Again, he's second-year player. So, second-year player, from that position, I think, when I look at it, the safety position is similar to the quarterback spot on the other side of the ball. In terms of how do you improve, you got to get experience. You got to see it. You got to see it. We could talk about it on the board. We could show the video, but until you see it and see it through those eyes, because there's a lot of fields you're defending back there, and then tying in the skies that we're trying to ask you to do, tying in the run fit, tying in, okay, I might get matched up on the receiver now. It just is through experience that he'll grow, and he's still in the early part of his career. So I'm pleased with where he's heading right now, and he works hard, he's diligent, and he knows he has room to grow, and he's working at it.
Line, because you talk about the only way you're going to get better is by playing. But
That's not the only way. I didn't say
but that's how what we're talking about. But there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be glitches here and there. Where is the fine line? Like, hey, that's kind of normal for the process, and the more we invest, the better off it's going to be. But he's got to be out there, or anybody for that matter.
Well, we all get paid to perform on Sunday. That's what we get paid to do. But some of the best learning and teaching moments I've had in my career have been from mistakes, and I can't speak for the players, but I know I've learned a lot from mistakes than just whether it was studying in school or studying or listening to my parents. My dad and mom I definitely learned better when I got punished, in terms of the mistakes there. But that's part of the process. It's not going to be perfect. It's an imperfect game, but learning from your mistakes. Some of the best lessons are from mistakes, because you're like, okay, they said it happened. Oh, okay, now I got it. So, it's part of the process.
Coach, when you look at this running defense, you guys have gone up against some really good running backs this year, and you have another one upcoming. What do you think has been the success of just Bilal and Billings, that rotation? Like, what do you think are the good things that are attributing to success in the run defense?
Well, it helps to have good players. We all know that. Two, I would think, in terms of, I think Frank's doing a good job of just teaching the techniques that we want to use, in terms of, playing with good pad level, playing with their hands out in front of their eyes, making sure, again, they don't get blocked by one guy. It's hard enough to defend in this league, but you talk about it being a passing league, and you got the guys up front have to be able to take on more than one block or force guys to block them with two guys. And, so far, we've done a solid job with that. There's still room to improve, but they've bought into that. We can't go 1-for-1. That's a big part of it, because it's hard. It's too hard to cover the pass in this league if you don't have guys that can, take up two spots.
How difficult is it to begin a week of prep not knowing who the other team's quarterback is going to be? And obviously they're two very different quarterbacks in terms of taking chances and how they operate.
Each week is difficult just in general, just preparing, but, we always have to take into account the backup quarterbacks when we go through the process. So, we allocate a certain amount of time for who we think is going to be the starter, then we allocate a certain amount of time for the backup, because, in the blink of a moment, second play, Derek was down for one play. You never know what's going to happen. That's just the game when you're dealing with a collision sport like this. So, again, every week is difficult. We're always preparing for whoever's on the roster, so, does it add to a certain level of difficulty? Maybe, but that's how we prepare. So,
Pat, it seems like you all have been more aggressive lately, playing a lot of man coverage and blitzing more often. Is that just an effort to try to create more of those splash plays and kind of game-changing plays on defense?
It comes into play in terms of what we think is best for the game plan that week, and then what we feel comfortable doing. The more games we play together, the more games I call with the group, we're going to grow more and more comfortable. And and again, just keep going back to it. Practice execution becomes game reality. What we're practicing, that's what we're trying to do out there in the field. So
It's just another question about the prep, but when they have a guy like Taysom Hill who can line up anywhere and throw from anywhere, how much do you have to kind of drill that into the players of know where he is on the field, I guess?
No, that adds a level of difficulty. Absolutely. He's one of those where's Waldo guys. That's what you go each week. There's somebody like that usually on each team. So you gotta have an understanding. Okay, there he is. He's on the field, and then you gotta be able to execute from there. we got the idea, he's on the field, we know where he's at, and then from there, can we execute the plan? So that's all. There's usually somebody like that on the field for each team, and he's definitely one of the guys for this team. Along with, they got a few other guys that you got to make sure, you got to know where Kamara is, you got to know where a lot of these guys are. They're really skilled on offense.
Going into like what you're saying about Kamara, knowing where he is, what are some things in his game that you, well, I wouldn't say you like, but what are some things you got to watch out when you're game playing against him?
The fact that like his balance on contact, this guy breaks a lot of tackles and doesn't go down easily. That's a big part of his game, in my opinion. It has been since I've been watching him. I think where was he at? Tennessee, I believe. And then when he got in the league, so you try to tackle him. He has a pretty good balance. He can bounce off tackles. Obviously, the speed jumps off the tape, and then the fact that they're able to use him in both the run and pass game. When you start drawing up a back, if you're doing like Madden or whatever, and you're trying to rate, I haven't played Madden in so long, but but if you're trying to get it together in Madden, I'm sure that's what you would want with your running back, and it causes issues. He could be in the backfield, he could be out wide, they could put him anywhere. They put him at wildcat quarterback, they could do anything. So you got to prepare for that stuff.
You guys all set? Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.